Hey guys, it's Chris Duncan here, and I'm so excited to share this with you. On this video, I want to talk you through webinars, and most importantly, a really huge strategy that is it's blowing us away here at Fast Track Business, and I think it will blow you away as well. I've been doing webinars since 2013. In fact, the first webinar I actually run was in 2011, but I didn't start selling until 2013. And since then, we've done just over $10 million in sales via webinars. So I know a thing or two about how to run them and what works. Now, here's what's interesting. And I'll be sharing this at the end of the video, a full system. So you might just skip right there to understand this. But here's what I want you to understand. In the middle of last year, the game changed. Middle of last year, our cost per acquisition, our cost per lead, our cost of attendee just went up and up and up and up and up. On-demand webinars stopped working. I watched other people struggling. Everything changed because Facebook finally ran out of ad space. The old way, you'd write an ad, you'd get a bunch of people to a webinar, you'd make an offer, you'd create value, some would buy, some wouldn't, it was all right, you'd keep going. But the numbers changed. And a day doesn't go by that I'm not speaking to a really well-respected, amazing coach or consultant, healer or practitioner who is really frustrated that they're not able to get the results that they may have used to 5 or 10 years ago. And here's the big problem. They have this amazing world-changing service like I do, yet they just can't get enough people to actually pay attention to buy from them, so they are just out there doing all these things they shouldn't be doing. And I hear this again and again and again. They're running around on Facebook, writing books, starting Instagram, going on YouTube. You know, they've got LinkedIn things happening. They've got blogs. They've got so much going on, yet they're not doing what they're put here on the planet to do. And so we were struggling. We were trying to figure this out last year, and then we finally made the switch. And this switch meant that we did the same thing in a different order, in a different pattern, and Facebook's algorithm loves it. I have to let you know, we run a $5 million personal development business, and this last month was our biggest month. So, biggest month in 12 months. And so I want you to pay attention to this. If you're looking to break through your first million, or go from $1 million to $2 million, or even if you want to make your first 100 grand, this is going to be really important. Because you can make things really simple if you like by creating a good Facebook ad, creating a good webinar, and then getting people to buy your program. Or you can make it really difficult by going out there and trying all sorts of things. So let me get into it. Firstly, you've got to understand that there's a customer journey. The first thing is that they become aware of who you are. After they become aware, they then engage. After they engage, they then subscribe. After they subscribe, they need to be educated. After they become educated, they then become a buyer. They then become a client. And then they become an advocate. An advocate meaning somebody that tells other people about you. Okay? So they're aware, then they're engaged, then they subscribe, then they get educated, buyer, client, advocate. And here's what's interesting. Is as you are marketing, you've got to understand your job isn't to try to get them from they don't know you, they're not even aware of you, to becoming a client. Your job is just to move them one piece at a time, okay? Just like that, okay? And this is why a webinar works so well. Because what you're able to do is you're able to get them to become aware with some sort of ad. Then you're able to get them to opt in for a webinar that then gets to educate and gets them to buy, okay? So you're able to do all of this on a webinar. Now, this should make a lot of sense to you. You know, you should go, wow, yeah, I get that, Chris. I've seen webinars. I know they work, and I know that they understand. But a lot of people can't get this to work, yet it is the most profitable, simplest, and easiest thing, especially for people who have a great product, like you, I hope, that people really need. And the problem is this, and I want you to understand the power of the placebo. Because most people don't realize that the most important thing in your prospect's mind is that they believe that it's going to work for them. And this is why webinar works so well, is because you can help them to believe. Now, there's 3 things they must believe. First, and most importantly, they must believe that they can actually go through the transformation or get the result that you're talking about. So they must believe that. Secondly, they must believe in your system. And thirdly, they must believe in you. And so there's three things they must believe. Now, here's what's really full on for me to think about is a placebo is when an inert substance creates a result inside a human being. Back in World War II, they ran out of morphine. The Surgeon General did it. And what happened is he had to amputee and do these big operations on people, but he had no morphine. So what he did is he took a saline drip, he took the saline and an empty morphine drip. He put the salt water into the morphine drip and then was still able to, operate and do amputee limbs and all sorts of stuff because the patient and the nurse both believed that it was morphine. And this is the power of belief. And if you're watching this, you know this on the inside, that our human brain can choose to believe or disbelieve. And the placebo is real. The placebo effect is real. Now, really interesting, if your audience has a brain that's able to create that level of belief, that they could believe that they've got morphine, that even when they don't, they can truly choose to disbelieve you. And this is the big thing that we have to overcome. It's not about how great your product is. It's about how much they believe in it, how much they believe in themselves. A lot of times you can have a great product, but it's so good they don't believe it can actually happen. And so this is why a webinar is so good, and the breakthrough I'm going to tell you about in just a minute works so well. So how do we create placebo-level conviction? It's really interesting to understand that you can create placebo-level conviction. So you can actually harness this power, you can harness this belief to create that level of conviction. The way we do it is using something called the emotional clarity method. Okay, and it's very interesting. The emotional clarity method has three phases. It has a story phase, then it has the steps or the plan, then it has the system or the product. Okay, so this is about you, the person. Then you want to give them the plan, and then you want to tell them about the product, or your story, the steps, and the system. Now, studies have been showing you can increase the level of placebo by firstly telling a good story. Okay, if there was a story and there was statistics and there was things behind that inert pill, we believed it more, and therefore the patient's belief went up, the results went up, the placebo actually increased. Same when you have a plan or you actually tell them the steps, the left brain. So this stuff here, to start with, this is the right brain, this is the left brain, okay? And if there was research, there were things actually behind backing up. What happened was the placebo level actually was better, it was greater, it was more, it was taken on more by the customer. Now the last thing here is the actual product. Now if the product did different things and really showed them they were going to get the result, the placebo level was real. So how do we do that in a webinar? Well, first we've got to understand on this graph, in the bottom is time and here is emotion. I hope you like that I'm going really fast. I've trained about 8,000 people on how to run presentations, so I want to give you some of the basics. And we helped just over 400 people do a 6-figure presentation. Let's make 100 grand off one presentation. So we know how to do this. You do right brain, left brain, and then you do both. Okay, and this is crucial. People need to go on an emotional ride with you through your webinar, and this is how I've had them work so well. So to start off in your story, you tell the hero's story, their emotion rises, and then as you tell the pitfalls, it goes down. Right here, you must share your epiphany. As it goes down, you come down here, and they understand the problem. They really want to know the plan. Once you tell them the plan up here, okay, you get them up and out of the plan, then you want to stack your product and then explain the next steps. And this is really, really interesting. So here is the story with the epiphany. Here's the plan, the steps, the left brain that backs up, gets them out of the problem. Up here you have the big vision or the destination. And then here you have your product, okay, what actually works for them. Now, I went through this really fast. It's something that we work with people to get their presentation right, because once you get your presentation right and you're able to create placebo-level conviction, what you do is you create buyers. You create buyers. You actually take people who have never heard from you, you tell the story, you tell them how you're going to work with them, and then you give them the product, and you actually grow someone into a buyer. You move them through these levels of awareness in one session, okay? Now, this works on webinars and works in live events like nothing you've ever seen. But this worked in webinars for a very long time. But see, it takes about an hour to 90 minutes to get through the whole thing. And so what happened is last year, things changed. And this is the big change. See, in order to get someone to buy from you and to buy in authenticity and without having to sell them so they learn everything, you must give them 4 pieces of clarity. And those 4 pieces of clarity is they must be clear that they have a problem. They must be clear that there's a path. They must be clear that the product is right for them and that clear that you're the right person. Then you also must give them 4 emotions, or they must receive 4 emotions. They are hope, urgency, trust, and excitement. Now, when you did all of this, what happened is you would create yourself a buyer. See, first off, someone has to know, I've got a problem. Next, well, what's the path to solve that problem? Next, well, what's the product that gets me there quicker? And who's the right person? A confused mind does nothing. That's why you've got to have clarity, specifically 4 pieces of clarity. Then, there are these 4 emotions. Hope, that the future's going to be better. Urgency, I've got to do something right now. Trust, this person won't let me down. Excitement, I'm ready to start. And this is what really, really changed, is you have to get through all of this. Now, with our people, and I just real quickly, a client of ours, Colette, I was on the phone with her today. She made $12,000 US yesterday. She's doing between $80,000 and $120,000 every single month. When I first met her, she was a healer who never made more than $3,000. She's a healer and a therapist who never made more than $3,000. Now, over $100,000 a month off an automated webinar. Angela Herenick, who's a spiritual teacher, spiritual coach, she's creating huge, huge, huge waves. Over 22 people bought her new program, bought into a $2,000 event that she does using a presentation because she created buyers, created them. So this is something we know. Now here's where you come in and why you're watching this video. Is last year things started to change on us, okay? We used to be able to do this. We used to be able to run an ad. The ad would get people to go to a webinar, and then people would be able to buy. And this webinar would be 60 to 90 minutes long, and it would be automated, on demand, and it would just cycle and just work and cycle and just work. And then all of a sudden, Facebook didn't like that as much, and people didn't like it. They were sick of going to webinars to just be sold something. They were also sick of going to webinars and spending 30 minutes just hearing someone's story. However, we know that in order to get someone to buy, they have to get the right brain story. But they got sick of hearing the story, they got sick of 90 minutes, and everything changed. And so here's what we found out, and Facebook love it. We're making more money than we've ever made before, and here's the big reveal, because I want to take you through it right now. And this is exactly what we did with our highest paying clients, who pay us $60,000 to $100,000 a year and are looking to really, really scale their business. Here's what we did, is we took that story off the presentation and we put it in a Facebook ad. So we put the story in the Facebook ad. This was a huge breakthrough. It meant that not that many people clicked because they had to listen to the person's story, what they discovered. But here's what's great about a story. A story is native to Facebook, meaning Facebook likes stories. Okay, this is a huge breakthrough. So we put that on there. The cost per click went up massively. However, when they clicked and they joined the webinar didn't have to do the story. So first off, it got to be much smaller, but they were also way more qualified. The call to action was, let me show you how to do it. So instead of getting on the webinar and first having to tell our story, because we know we have to, we were able to do a quick recap of the story and then get right into the steps or the plan. Now what this did is it created time between the story and then the plan. Also, only people that liked the story would click, meaning they already chose whether or not they liked you, meaning Facebook was able to actually really find the right people that actually want to be on your webinar. Instead of you sending all this traffic to a webinar and a whole heap of people coming back, using the story in this way, Facebook was able to find the right people, get it through. So Facebook loved it because it was native and then the conversion rates, everything was great. Now here's what we did differently, is we don't pitch on the webinar, we go to a strategy. And this is huge. Instead of having this 90-minute webinar, 30 minutes of your story, you've been on one of these before, haven't you? 30 minutes of the story, 30 minutes of content, and then a big long pitch, right? You don't do that anymore. Instead, you're going to cut it in third. Still go into a lot of detail. You're going to be able to get your story out early. You do this. Now, there's some really particular things you've got to do here that we figured out that if you do them wrong, the whole thing falls over. But in essence, you go and tell the how-to here, and at the end, you book them in for a strategy and for a call. And here's what we found, is people were watching this and they're booking it. They felt respected, they felt looked after, and we were able to charge so much more. We were able to charge more because we had to have salespeople on other things, but we were able to charge more. We were able to connect with them, and most importantly, we're able to see which of our programs is right for them. And this was the biggest deal. And so once we figured this out, all we have to do is, and this is all you have to do, is number one, is you have to get this webinar presentation down. Number two, you have to create your story ad and make sure you do the right hero story in the right order that sets up that the right person gets here. And then number three, learn how to do calls. Now this produced, by breaking this up, and putting a barrier in here, and then a barrier here, this breakup allowed the person to breathe. It allowed us to find a higher quality person, and we're able to get this here done in 20 to 25 minutes, rather than having them opt in for a 90-minute thing. This was game-changing. Now, second on that is we're also able to get the same amount of content across and able to personalize it to people. So we had our biggest month this month because of this. And I have to say, one of my partners in my business, Scott Weddle, came up with this idea and this plan. And if you get a chance to work with him, you should listen to everything he says, because he's the one that really showed me this and we put it together. We started running this end of December. And when Scott showed it to me, I didn't really get it. We started running it. We started doing it. And for the first few weeks, we didn't really see any results. And I started thinking, well, what's happening? This isn't going to work. Should we go back to the old way? What are we going to do? And then all of a sudden, we start making thousands and thousands of dollars every single day. I start seeing sales coming through like I've never seen it before. And then January, like this month, it's January right now, this month, this was the biggest month that we've had in over 12 months. I'm talking about cash collected, I'm talking about new sales, I'm talking about lives impacted, and I'm so excited about this. It's massive. Now, you're sitting there and you've got something that actually changes people's lives. If that's you, and you're going, I need to reach more people, I've tried ads, I'm frustrated, I'm doing all these things. This is all I do now for my mindset program, for my coaching programs, is I just have to get the story ad, do this, run it. I have a sales team. The sales team only have to talk to qualified people. It costs a bit more up front, but it's cheaper in the long run. It's absolutely amazing. If you're sitting there going, you know what, I need to make this happen, here's what I can tell you. In the first 3 months, this can all get working, and you've been getting qualified people coming out the other side, and you can just every day wake up with qualified person, qualified person, qualified person. Facebook loves it. It's going to take over, but the window's small. With anything like this, the window is small until everybody's doing it. And so we've got a good 3 to 6 months where we can really go, wow, and impact a lot of people for a super small amount of money. So if this is the right time for you and you want some help to implement this, I've got a team available to take on 3, maximum 5 people. We have multiple programs, okay? We have a full automated training that you can just go through to get your presentation right, okay? We have a one-to-one service that you can purchase, and we have a group training. Now, we don't have the group training and everything set up to get this all done. We have to do this one-on-one. Here's the thing though, is until you get all your content right, until you get it all done in the right way, until you have your presentation, we can't even start with this. So here's what we've got. When we've been helping people get presentations done forever, we've now figured out how to break the presentation apart and put it in the right order and the right system so that Facebook loves it, makes the most money, the smallest amount. So look, I sent you this video because you said that there was something that you're interested in. I'm not sure if you want to get on a phone call and talk to us. Like, our bottom program is $3,000, our top program is $15,000. So when we talk to you, we're going to be having that conversation. And really, we want to talk to people who are going to get a significant ROI on that. You know, they go, hey, Chris, I've got a $2,000 program or a $5,000 program. Look, I need to sell this many to get ROI. I go, great, let's do it. We need people who've actually sold their thing before. You know, it's hard if this is your first one for us to get that ROI. But if you believe, we believe. But here's who we really want. We want to find the person who has a great system, a great program. They have client testimonials. They're a coach, a therapist, a practitioner. And all they would want is to get qualified people and change their lives into the program. And we can take on 3 to 5 people right now. So if this makes sense to you, send me a message back. And I'll look forward to having one of us talk to you. We'll get started. Let's make this happen. And we can move really fast. Within a month, we can have all this up and running and testing and figuring out if your story's right and get everything right. In 3 months, you can be having qualified people just, dialed into your calendar. So reach out if this makes sense to you. Thanks for watching the video. And, I hope that it made a lot of sense. Let me know if it did. Smash it.